So, if you saw my last video, you'll know that I thought What the Future was just good. Hammer and Fail, on the other hand, is freaking great. The writing, the story, the comedy, the animation, everything works so well together that I'm surprised What the Future is still the more popular episode. I mean, come on, Hammer and Fail is just so much better, and I'm gonna tell you why, but first we have a story to summarize. Interestingly enough, Hammer and Fail is actually the first episode to be split into 2 parts, not counting the Zombie Attack and Santa Claus trilogies. In part 1, Ed and the guys are running out of room in the house to keep all of Matt's junk, so they decide to add an extra floor to the house. But instead of hiring builders to do it for them, they just go ahead and build it themselves. Alrighty, that's a great setup. But once we get to part 2, that's where things get even better. They decide to order a pre-built roof from a company that apparently has a problem with ghosts in their roofs, so now there's an evil spirit haunting their house and they have to chase it out. It changes gears from part 1 so quickly, and yet it still somehow fits in and ties the story together brilliantly. Call it strange, but it reminds me a lot of Gravity Falls. An episode of Gravity Falls usually starts out with a basic setup like Mabel wanting to beat Pacifica at minigolf, but then reveals a bunch of minigolf elves that help her win, and then leads to a war between the elves to see which of them helped her the best. It takes what could have made for just a basic episode that might have gotten a few chuckles, and takes it in a completely different direction that ultimately makes the story a whole lot better. This is what I wanted from What the Future, a story that takes complete advantage of its setup. If it was just Ed, Matt, and Tom adding an extra floor to their house, you might get some good jokes out of it. But throw in the ghost, and of course Eduardo's gang, and you have a recipe for pure comedic gold. Which reminds me, Eduardo's gang is hilarious. They're just there to make the other guys feel bad. They hate each other because they drink different kinds of soda. It's just great. You know what else is great? The animation. This is some of my favorite animation in the entire show. I love this style. I love it so much that we're using it as the basis for the Eddsworld fan movie. It has the right amount of simplicity, the right amount of over-the-top expressions, the right amount of movement and tweening. I don't think Ed really thought that hard about how he animated this episode, but it seems like he got lucky. The music is really good too, which I usually don't mention in these reviews, but here it's just great. I love the montage song and the fight music, and of course, Flashback. The composers they got to do this episode have a really good ear when it comes to finding the right vibe to go for with the music. Or maybe it was Ed asking for specific songs for specific scenes and going with the best stuff that he got. When music starts to play in a scene, it matches the tone that the scene conveys. You get funny music for a funny scene, epic music for an epic scene, and there's never a moment where it doesn't match at all. Everything works together perfectly, and that's what Hammer and Fail is like as a whole. I honestly can't think of anything bad to say about this episode. There are just too many great aspects of it. The writing, spot on. The animation, stellar. The music, perfect. This is pretty much the best Eddsworld episode ever, aside from Movie Makers, but you already know why. If you haven't seen this episode, I highly recommend you check it out. You'll be hooked from beginning to end.